I am a wife, and we never asked about whether she was mother or wife. We want to know if she is a CEO and a chairman.
Andrew and Tristan Tate have been taken into custody in Miami by the U.S. Marshals Service.
Since 2022, they had been under criminal investigation in Romania.
Is Erika Kirk banned from a European country for trafficking children?
There has been a lot happening around Andrew and Tristan Tate's legal situation over the past few days, with developments coming from Romania, the UK, and now the United States. While the brothers are currently fighting their detention in the US as part of the extradition process, their Romanian case has also continued to develop in the background.
We were having sex and he strangled me until I passed out. And then when I came back around, he was still having sex with me while I'd been passed out. So that was when the incident happened, yeah.
In 2023, we spoke to a woman we are calling Evie, who says she met Andrew near London in 2014. Evie and 3 other British women are currently pursuing a separate civil case against the Tates over allegations of abuse and coercion.
What was going through your mind?
I was really scared. Yeah, I didn't really know what was going to happen. I didn't know if I was going to die or, I didn't really know. It was quite scary. There was no consent, me telling him to do it or saying it was fine. He just kind of did it.
Did he say anything to you?
He sort of kept saying things like, oh, I own you, you're mine, kept kind of holding me against the wall by my neck and saying that he was going to kill me. And then he left and I never saw him again.
Another woman in the civil case, who we are calling Amelia, also accuses Andrew of strangling and raping her in 2013.
One of the biggest controversies comes from their departure from Romania earlier this year. Romanian prosecutors did not initially want the brothers' travel restrictions lifted. However, Romania's prime minister reportedly believed that doing so could help appease the American administration. The brothers were subsequently allowed to leave the country on a private plane.
And they're just disgusted, dismayed, distraught. They don't understand how this could happen. Why would the so-called most powerful man in the world intervene on the behalf of one of the world's worst and most prolific alleged sex traffickers and rapists? They now feel that they've been completely abandoned and that Tates will never see a criminal prosecution. I know the Trump administration has been involved, and given the power that Trump wields over his administration, one must think that it's come with his blessing. I don't know what the leverage that the Trump administration has used on Romania to bring this about, but we do know that there has been pressure placed on the Romanians, that they have been coerced into doing it.
The political connections themselves are not particularly new, but the investigation provides more detail about how those relationships developed. The Tates have built strong connections with several prominent conservative personalities in the United States, including people with direct or indirect links to individuals in the American government.
They're building more and more powerful allies in the United States. In 2017, as Andrew tells it, he did a tweet in support of Donald Trump, and soon Andrew and Don Jr. had connected at Trump Tower.
The president's son, he made me a coffee. He's a cool dude.
And this support and this relationship continues through 2023. When Andrew and his brother are placed under house arrest, Don Jr. sends out a tweet of support. By that point, the Tates had hired Joseph McBride, this attorney who had come to prominence representing Trump supporters accused of insurrection on January 6th. And McBride pitches his new client to conservative host Tucker Carlson, who travels to Romania and conducts a lengthy interview with Andrew in his mansion.
I mean, I was sympathetic to you already, but a man's accused of human trafficking. It's worth finding out what he's accused of.
The Tucker Carlson interview gets more than 112 million views. This is a key turning point.
That political support is now particularly relevant because the brothers are facing legal proceedings in several jurisdictions. Romania has its own criminal investigation. The UK has sought Andrew Tate's extradition, and the United States is currently dealing with the question of whether the brothers should remain detained while the extradition process develops.
Andrew and Tristan Tate have been taken into custody in Miami by the U.S. Marshals Service.
Romanian authorities reportedly searched 4 properties connected to Andrew Tate in Bucharest and announced several additional allegations. The authorities did not initially name Tate, but Romanian sources reportedly identified the properties as belonging to him.
Well, we have this statement, as you say, from the main prosecution, the Special Prosecution Service, that they carried out these raids. They did not actually name Andrew Tate or his brother Tristan in that press release, but we understand from Romanian sources that those were the targets of those raids. And what is the new development really is the mentioning of other charges of sex with a minor, trafficking with a minor, attempts to perhaps influence witnesses in the already existing charges. So these are all new developments specifically on the Romanian charges. The British police also want to speak to Andrew Tate. They've asked for his transfer from Romania, but they've also accepted that the Romanian charges will be dealt with, any legal proceedings in Romania, which are completely separate and unrelated to any charges or any investigation going on in the United Kingdom.
That brings us to the most immediate development in the United States. Andrew and Tristan Tate were due to have their detention or bail hearing on August 13th, but their lawyers have now filed an emergency motion asking the court to postpone it. Their argument is that the government introduced additional factual allegations that they need time to properly address.
I'm just very confused. Now, if we look at the litigation of this, we can see it says, Emory, Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate's motion to continue August 13, 2026 detention hearing. On August 10, 2026, the government filed its response to the motion for bond pending extradition proceedings filed by Andrew Tate and Tristan. On August 11, 2026, undersigned counsel reviewed the government's pleadings with the Tate and the SCHU at FDC. The government's response raises several additional factual allegations to which the Tates would like the opportunity to reply in writing and secure fact witnesses to appear at the hearing. Fact witnesses? What witnesses are the Tate brothers going to secure for the hearing, please? Accordingly, the Tates request that this court allow them until August 21st, 2026 to file a reply to the government's response and continue to the detention hearing until the following week. So they're going to be in prison for much longer now, essentially by their own merit. But I do think that this emergency filing that Andrew and Tristan's lawyers have put in is because the prosecution's response completely decimated them. They were not prepared for the old Twitter account. They were not prepared for the Romanian prosecution to tap in the ring. They were not prepared for the intimidation of the alleged witnesses that the CPS, the Crown Prosecution Service, basically had. It was point evidence and point explanation and alleged evidence all basically put in one in a very concise, clear 34-page in-depth filing. The defense thought that they wouldn't have done stuff like this, and now the defense know it's a losing battle.
Their lawyer, Joseph McBride, has responded very aggressively to the government's filing. He has described it as being filled with falsehoods and argued that the defense will respond to the allegations point by point with documents and evidence. The defense also says it wants time to secure fact witnesses who can appear at the hearing.
For 48 hours, we have watched their enemies work hand in glove with the mainstream media to advance a false narrative designed to destroy them in court on August 13th. The coordination is astounding. The government's filings land Monday, and the same lies are in print hours later. That is not honest news coverage. That is a campaign. But in doing so, they showed us their entire playbook. Andrew and Tristan paid for this delay by enduring 2 more weeks in horrible conditions of confinement at FTC's Miami SHU. This is the price innocent men must pay when the process is the punishment. Innocent men walk towards the fight. Guilty men flee from it. Andrew and Tristan Tate are running full speed into battle. My God, today. We ask that you pray for them during their time of suffering as we flank the enemies of liberty to launch this historic counter-offensive. Andrew and Tristan Tate are convicted of nothing or any continent in any court. They are charged with no American crime. Their incarceration is the result of an unholy alliance between the enemies of free speech in the US and the UK. Andrew and Tristan Tate are being punished for their words, not their deeds. Mark my word, we will shred this litany of lies and demonstrate to this court and to the entire world why these men must be released and this extradition denied.
The judge ultimately has the final say on whether the hearing is delayed. The court could accept the defense request and move the hearing to the following week, or it could decide that the August 13th hearing should proceed as planned. Either way, the situation has become considerably more complicated.
Now, mind you, also, the judge doesn't have to accept any of this. The judge could say, listen, you've left it too little too late. We're going to go ahead with the bond hearing. I don't need to accept your deadline. But I do think the judge might accept this because if any side just wants more time, it's not that terribly long. 21st of August is not terribly far from the 12th of August. So it's not like they're asking for it in October. But I really hope, for my sake and for everybody's sake, that the judge does not extend this and that the judge just goes according to the schedule that has been prepped. I think the prosecution might actually put out some kind of conversation now as well in terms of filings, say that we don't want this extension. But now the defense want to respond to the prosecution. They want to have a rebuttal to the prosecution. So is this going to keep going back and forth like a match? Are we at Wimbledon? Is this going to be a match of tennis? Do you know what I mean? I find it to be irritating. Like, let's just get on with this bond hearing for tomorrow. Okay, I don't know what witnesses now they want to, bring into the conversation, especially because they've been accused of intimidation of witnesses. So how do we know that whoever they're going to bring for this bond hearing, they haven't intimidated and they haven't scrubbed that alleged evidence of text messages, WhatsApp, voice notes, etc.? How do we know?
The Tate brothers aren't the only ones accused of trafficking in Romania. Erika Kirk is drowning in controversy right now, and the newfound attention brought by her husband's death some time ago has dug up quite interesting accusations.
Erika Kirk, her orphan ring. A lot of people think that she started this thing like, oh, she was part of her pageants, but she was 17 years old. Starts an orphan ring. A guy named Otto Buscher, he was a Marine, ended up getting caught for orphan minors.
Wait, are you kidding?
No, Romania is one of the biggest trafficking places in the world, actually.
No, it really is. I looked into this.
It's a big hub for it.
That's crazy.
America's number one. We're always number one in that.
I think Israel's pretty big, but how about Erika Kirk? What a sociopath. How did Charlie Kirk not spot that?
Well, they met on a wall humping trip in Israel.
I will never forget the time I was in Israel with my husband. Well, that was the second time, but the first time with my mother on a pilgrimage. And I was standing in the ticket line. And I remember looking behind me. And in the snake of the ticket line was a guy who looked very familiar. I had no idea who he was. And I told my mom, this guy looks so familiar. And as a typical mother, she said, go and say hi. That ended up being Charlie. Nothing is by coincidence. Now, did we know that? No, not until we were like 3 months into our relationship and looking at timestamps, seeing that both of us were in Israel at the same time.
Right. Wasn't she on reality shows, like making out with dudes and telling him, like, yeah, I've only been with you, Charlie?
Yeah, I mean, she was
sociopath.
Like,
you know what's so crazy is the fact that you will say that knowing that there's video evidence of you doing the opposite.
Right? Yeah.
The controversy around Erika Kirk has now taken on a life of its own, with the biggest fight currently being between her and Candace Owens. Erika has publicly pushed back, saying that the constant speculation is not only hurting her personally, but also damaging the Turning Point USA team.
You know, I have to say it, I've never seen you like this.
No, this is righteous anger because this is not okay. It's not healthy. This is a mind virus. And so my message to them is to stop. To stop.
Turning Point USA CEO Erika Kirk furiously rebuked conspiracy theorists, peddling deranged claims about the death of her late husband, Charlie Kirk. During an interview with Fox News' Harris Faulkner on December 10th, Erika decried the toll the theories have had on her team. In the weeks that followed the brutal caught-on-camera gunning down of her husband that shocked the world, prominent right-wing figures, such as Candace Owens, have spewed unfounded claims about his death and even raised questions about his funeral arrangements. Owens, who worked as a communications director for Turning Point USA between 2017 and 2019, has openly cast doubt on the notion that suspect Tyler Robinson acted alone. She's floated theories that Charlie Kirk's own organization, quote, betrayed him and that the US government was involved. For weeks, Owens has also seemingly implied, though not outright alleged, that Israeli intelligence may have also had a hand in Charlie's murder.
That obviously has not stopped the speculation. Owens has repeatedly questioned the official narrative surrounding Charlie Kirk's death, and Erika's reactions have never provided a straight answer. Many mock her for continuously stating that people need to stop looking into her situation, when her own husband once said, "You better keep asking questions, because it's the only thing that keeps us free."
Everyone is asking why I even went to the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And it was because many of the journalists in that room have attempted to dehumanize me. And I wanted to meet some of them face to face, quite frankly. Why have a conversation about me when you can have a conversation with me? So, for example, a journalist from the Daily Mail came up to me. She introduced herself, and she was very gracious. She was saying, "You look so beautiful. I'm so sorry for your loss." To which I replied, "It is so nice to put a name to the face, especially with all of the slander, the lies, accusations that are out there surrounding my husband's murder and myself." And I said to her, "You know what's so interesting? This is my first time at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and I find it so fascinating, the dynamic that is going on right now, because everyone is all dressed up and you guys are co-mingling in and out of each other's cocktail parties. And so for one night, you are able to put aside all of your differences for the sake of freedom of speech. And then by Monday morning, things will go back to being an absolute bloodbath between all of you." To which she replied, literally, she said, "I know. Isn't it special, right?"
The argument became even more personal when Erika emphasized that she is not simply the CEO of Turning Point USA, but also a widow and a mother dealing with the death of her husband. She specifically pushed back against the idea that she should have to answer every conspiracy theory while grieving.
And then Danny calls Mikey, and they stay on the phone for 10 minutes. They're together. Blake Neff rode with Danny. That's the only SUV that is left. They all ran in the exact same direction. This suddenly registers to me as an extraordinarily long phone call in the middle of this mayhem, a long phone call. A lot of things going on, a lot of people to speak to, the person next to you. Now, maybe Justin Strife, we have a couple options here. Maybe Justin Strife and Erika lied to me and it wasn't Danny Phillip that he was on the phone with. I don't know. I don't think so. But I can't make sense of that phone call in the middle of everything when they're together. Danny, Blake, and Mikey all run in the same direction. They get into the same car. Their cars are parked right next to one another's. What are they conversing about for 10 full minutes? We do know that they then all arrive at the hospital together around 1 o'clock p.m.ish. Blake says they arrived 25 minutes later. I'm going to forgive him that. I mean, you're estimating at that point. And we know that it's actually about 1 p.m. because the local news caught a live feed of them walking into Timpanogos Hospital. And this is what Baron Coleman was covering, because they don't seem to be shaken. They're all just kind of walking.
Owens, meanwhile, has continued attacking Erika's handling of the controversy. She has argued that Erika cannot simply appeal to her role as a grieving widow when people are asking questions about her role as the new leader of Turning Point USA.
Owens has also contributed to the stirring of theories about the location of Charlie's burial, claiming that he was laid to rest in a Catholic cemetery despite him not being Catholic.
But can I have one thing? Can my babies have one thing where we hold it sacred, where my husband is laid to rest, where I don't have to be worried about some secular revolutionary coming and destroying my husband's grave while my daughter is sitting there praying?
Hours after Erika's Fox News appearance, Owens went on the attack again on her podcast, ripping Erika for not addressing the rumors publicly as the new CEO of the company, but as a mourning widow.
Whoa, Erika Kirk shuts down No, she didn't even respond to one of the conspiracies. She gave us emotion. She said, I'm a mother, I am a wife, and we never asked about whether she was a mother or wife. We want to know if she is a CEO and a chairman.
The back and forth between the pair comes as Erika's team gears up to address Owens' head-scratching claims. Blake Neff, producer of The Charlie Kirk Show, announced that his team will give their public rebuttal to Owens' claims on Monday, December 15th. He extended a public invitation to Owens, who has indicated she won't be able to make it in person or via a video link.
Tate is facing actual criminal proceedings and formally reported allegations in Romania and the UK, whereas the claims circulating about Erika appear to be much more indirect. Yet, in both cases, online political communities have taken questions about a person's associations and turned them into much broader narratives about what they supposedly knew or did.
This is a video posted by Erika Kirk at her Romanian Angels charity back in 2013. It's important to note that at the end of this video, she thanks Colonel Busher, an alleged sex and human trafficker, for partnering with her on this task of bringing gifts to these Romanian children. Colonel Busher III was an army officer who served as colonel and commander at the Black Sea Area Support Team for U.S. forces in Romania. Now, it's important to note that in November of 2019, a former translator at the base from the 2010s to the mid-2010s filed a criminal complaint with Romania's Anti-Organized Crime Directorate, otherwise known as DICOT. She accused Busher, along with U.S. Master Sergeant Lloyd Sparks and others, of involvement in an organized prostitution and human trafficking ring operating within the base during 2012 and 2013. The allegations included bringing women, including some minors, onto the base for forced sexual services with American soldiers, with Busher personally benefiting in approving access. The former translator that accused him of this also claimed that this was confirmed by U.S. investigators during a separate probe into fund misappropriation and cited harassment she faced after reporting it. However, DICOT investigated the complaint and closed the case in 2023 without filing charges.
The really interesting part is how quickly these two worlds overlap politically. Tate has developed a substantial following among young men and parts of the online right, while Turning Point USA occupies a much more mainstream position within American conservative politics.
Erika Kirk banned from a European country for trafficking children? Well, so some people are saying on social media. You can see a couple of the posts here. They claim that Kirk is banned from Romania after being accused of child trafficking. Is this right? No. What are they even talking about here? Well, before Erika Kirk got married to Charlie Kirk, she founded a group called Everyday Heroes Like You. That group had a project called Romanian Angels, which partnered with the Marine Corps and orphanages in Romania. Now, to fact check these rumors about Erika Kirk and her group, we looked for news articles and crime reports about this subject from both the US and Romania, and we found some stories like these. An Israeli newspaper reported on adoption agencies that were under investigation, and an outlet called Radio Free Europe reported on orphans who say they were trafficked from Romania, but neither of these stories mentioned Kirk or her organization. In fact, we found no reports implicating Kirk or her group.
Will the Tates win their case? Is Erika Kirk much more guilty than she claims to be? And could these two be related? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe.